Hello, everyone, and welcome to Beyond Bitcoin, a new monthly series where we break down the latest trends in cutting-edge technology, blockchain, and beyond, and why it matters to you. My name is Layla, and I'm co-hosting on behalf of BSN Global, and joining me is ShareRing's Communications Manager, Timothy Kingery.
Thank you, Layla. And with us today for our series premiere, we'd like to welcome our industry experts, Summer Mao, Head of Community Asia Pacific for ElGrant Foundation, and Michael Cotton, founder of Meld Gold and co-founder of Meld Ventures and ElGrant, here to share their insights and answers to the real questions that matter about DeFi. Thank you both for taking the time out of your busy schedules to join us.
Thank you.
Thanks for having us.
Starting off, can you tell us a little bit about yourselves and how you came to work for one of the top blockchain companies in the world?
Thanks, Tim. Well, I started the gold industry straight out of high school. So with the money I'd saved up working through high school, I started building my own gold business. That business went on to be one of the largest gold companies here in Australia. So now currently employs 60 staff and is spread across the country, including one of the highest rated security vaults for precious metals in Australia. And then around 5 years ago, I started looking at blockchain tech and really loved the concept and loved the idea. For me, I saw the true innovation and I saw the future of what really held. And then we started building out this concept of actually bringing gold to blockchain and really creating a gold currency once more. Since then, we've gone on to partner with companies such as MKS PAMP, the largest gold trader in the world based in Switzerland, Heraeus out of Asia, and Perth Mint here in Australia. And I now head up Meld Ventures, an Australian-based technology investment company. And Meld Gold is really moving its way through to become the digital gold standard for gold across the world.
That is incredibly impressive, Michael. Your passion for gold and innovation have clearly paid off. So thank you so much for sharing your experience with us today.
Thank you.
Summer, how about you? What brought you here?
So actually, it's an interesting story with a series of happy coincidences. So I joined the blockchain space in early 2018. Back then, I was still working in the traditional education industry. Then there happened to be a blockchain startup looking for a senior marketing fellow. That's the first time I heard about the word blockchain, and I did some research out of pure curiosity. You see, 2018 was the year when Bitcoin turned 10. However, many were still skeptical towards Bitcoin and the technology behind it. And after in-depth research, I was able to have a better understanding of the blockchain, and I was amazed by the beauty of the idea and the great potential of it. So I thought to myself, okay, this might be the next generation of the internet, and look how internet has completely changed our lives and become something that you cannot live without. It might be something. So with such expectation, I decided to change the direction of my career, and I took a leap into the blockchain industry. So then 1 year after, another happy coincidence happened. So ElGrant Foundation started seeking for a team member in Asia for a local community building. That's when I seized my moment, and luckily I became part of this great team. Yeah.
Excellent story. I really resonate with the view of it being like the new internet. Thank you so much for sharing that with us. And judging by their popularity and lead in this industry, it's easy to say ElGrant was a wise choice. Your team has climbed to the top of the charts in terms of market cap and established itself as an industry-leading DeFi platform of choice by many new DeFi blockchain companies, with ElGrant here being just one of many promising projects. But for those of us in the industry 2 years ago, DeFi wasn't really in the headlines at all. What stuck out to you about ElGrant of all blockchain companies?
Okay, so without doubt, ElGrant is a world-renowned project which has attracted global attention ever since its launch. And as you might know, there is intense competition in the public chain sector. So to me, ElGrant stood out from the rest for a few big reasons. So firstly, and maybe most importantly, is the ElGrant team and its leadership. So our founder, Silvio Micheli, also a Turing Award winner. He is the co-inventor of many widely used blockchain protocols, such as zero-knowledge proofs, verifiable random functions, and probabilistic encryption, many of which have also served as the foundation of modern cryptography. And under his leadership, we've got some of the greatest minds in the industry leading us. That alone gives me confidence that ElGrant would succeed. Then the technical aspects. ElGrant has managed to find an approach that solves the blockchain dilemma without any compromise. So a little background here. Blockchain dilemma is one of the main challenges during the blockchain's first decade, in which the three key objectives Security, scalability, and decentralization couldn't be fully achieved without sacrificing at least one of them. So ElGrant, by employing a novel pure proof of stake consensus algorithm, solved the dilemma and created a truly secure, fast, and scalable blockchain platform. So one fun fact, the name ElGrant is a combination of two words, algorithm and random. So we call our approach ElGrant because we crucially rely on algorithmic randomness for its efficiency. And it's also worth mentioning that ElGrant has a fast-growing ecosystem, and many use cases are from the traditional industries. So a number of companies, actually so far 700 companies, have chosen to build on ElGrant. So all these reasons certainly helped my decision to apply.
That's a fantastic explanation. And with that in mind, I can see how it was an easy choice. And that's really impressive regarding your founder too, Silvio. I didn't know he played such a big role in developing those protocols. Zero knowledge proofs, verifiable randomness, that kind of stuff is used by so many different blockchains. That is really fundamental to this industry. That's amazing. We'll include a link in the description below if you'd like to learn a little more about these after the show. But before we get too far, we'd like to break down in the simplest terms possible, what exactly is DeFi and what impact will this have in people's lives?
Okay, I'll take this question. So DeFi is short for decentralized finance. It's a term for a variety of financial applications in cryptocurrency or blockchain to disrupt financial intermediaries. So to put it more specifically, DeFi stands for financial services with no central authority. So DeFi takes out traditional elements of the financial system, such as exchanges or banks, and replaces the middleman with a blockchain smart contract. Okay, so you may ask, so no intermediaries to steal a part of my cake. What other advantages does DeFi have compared to traditional finance, and what impact will it have for the world? So first of all, DeFi will make financial services more accessible, and everyone will have a fair chance in the financial system. All the information which are required when creating a bank or brokerage account, such as the government-issued ID, social security number, or proof of address, are not necessary to use DeFi. So this is essentially helpful for those who are unbanked in Africa or Southeast Asia who have no access to basic financial services. Second, no center party or authority can reverse transactions or turn off the services. So you can control your assets independently. All transactions are publicly traceable, and you know exactly where your money is at all the time. And last but not least, transactions are enforced and governed by the smart contract. Basically, money is programmable according to a predefined computer code, which is publicly available for anyone to audit. And with this, DeFi can be applied in real-life services. Take insurance as an example. Just think of regular insurance, except that the rules of insurance events are encoded and the claims are paid out automatically. How convenient is that?
And look, to add to what Summer's saying as well, I think the other piece of this is not just allowing users to access these services, but it's really giving some of the brightest minds in the world the freedom to build out these products. You know, the barriers to entry for financial products is extremely high, whereas in the DeFi space and the blockchain space, you know, those with the best ideas and the strongest capability can actually deliver valuable products with a lot more ease.
Yeah, that is truly fascinating. Well, thank you for breaking that down for us. So you explained DeFi includes a number of financial products and services. Could you tell us about some of the most popular and how they compare to their counterparts in traditional finance?
Okay, so imagine trying to invest a single dollar in a way that would have any tangible return as an asset without being high risk. It's virtually impossible. Even with financial inclusion, price point accessibility is not enough. Through DeFi solutions, the users will be given the chance to take part in trading global tech stocks through a digital tokenization model that defines one share of the traditional equity into an individual 1/10,000th microequity token. This will advance microfinance by moving beyond microloans into microequity that can create wealth regardless socioeconomic standing. So this is actually the work of focus of Method, one of our ecosystem partners. They are providing accessible wealth creation tools to the underbanked. So Method is a microequity stock exchange powered by the ElGrant blockchain, and they aim at letting users invest very small amounts in selected stocks. This is made possible as the negligible transaction fees on ElGrant allow Meta to provide micro-equity token shares that would not be viable at a chain with substantive transaction fees. So you will be able to hold one crypto-based micro-equity token of big companies like Microsoft, Apple, Tesla, Twitter, Amazon, or Google, which is hold a cryptocurrency that represents 1/10,000th share in a real stock.
And look, to add to that as well, and I think Summer touched on it briefly in terms of microloans, but the other really interesting part that this opens up is the ability to then take those micro shares or take assets in companies like Google or Apple and actually access loans against those assets. In the traditional space, that's an incredibly difficult task and in most cases non-existent. But within DeFi, the ability to do that in a trustless way in under a minute and access a loan at really competitive interest rates is a really fascinating piece of the puzzle. Because number one, it allows people to access opportunities they might have before them that they may not want to sell their current holdings in other platforms, yet they want to take advantage of this opportunity. Or alternatively, they might just need a short-term loan. They might be short on funds, have an emergency, it happens to the best of us. So the ability to access those funds quickly, easily, and at a much better rate is really important.
Very cool. Some of those stocks are prohibitively expensive. The last I checked, you can't buy a share of Google for under $2,000. So will this be as easy as buying stocks with any other app, or will it still require some cryptocurrency knowledge?
So actually, Meta aims to make the investment as easy as possible. So the experience will be no different than using the other app. I believe the key to mainstream adoption is to make blockchain invisible for users. While the user is using the service based on the blockchain technology, they won't need to understand or even realize it's blockchain related. Just like nowadays, we are using all the services enabled by the internet. But for most of the users, they don't quite care what kind of technology is behind this.
Well said. I think a lot of us would agree with you there. Most really don't care how the TV works on the inside. We just want the entertainment that it provides. I think as more blockchain products become more user-friendly focused, like ordinary apps, we'll see a huge increase in adoption. So these DeFi loans seem like a no-brainer, if you do the math comparatively with their traditional finance counterparts. But if you're already savvy in Bitcoin, you're probably not too excited at the prospect of low double-digit returns on the year. But for the millions or billions of people who don't necessarily enjoy the thrill or the inherent risks of investing, when do you think DeFi loans would be in the hands of ordinary users, like my neighbor Bill? Is anyone working on making this really mainstream?
Yep, that's what we are heading to, right? I think the key question behind this is, when will blockchain technology obtain mainstream adoption, or is blockchain technology business ready? So while the benefits of blockchain are clear for blockchain use cases such as DeFi, if it wants to be welcomed into mainstream adoption and become an alternative for real-world use cases, it has to solve issues like high execution cost, scalability and speed, and the security issues. So to advance ahead, the industry needs a next generation open source permissionless blockchain, being decentralized, scalable, and secure, with the built-in transactional speed and low fees to power real-world use cases. And I believe ElGrant is one of the ideal platforms to push blockchain into mainstream adoption. And hopefully your neighbor Bill and my friend Jane will soon enjoy the blockchain services with ease. To be honest, it will take some time, but it will be worth the effort.
I think too, as Summer said, blockchain really does need to be invisible for broader adoption. I think it also creates opportunities for people like Bill to understand the technology and really come to terms with the idea that it's secure and it's an incredible tech, but it's also not that scary. And another benefit of DeFi is that those usual roadblocks, as I said earlier, for entrepreneurs and developers to create interesting products are dramatically reduced. So there's definitely a great variety of products, both live and coming. And as we do start to see new generations of blockchain technology coming to market like ElGrant, we are seeing more secure options arise, which inherently means broader adoption is coming. For example, at Mel Gold, we're working with several new projects launching on the ElGrant blockchain to create yield with gold, something that's almost unheard of in the traditional sector. But the brilliance of ElGrant and several of the products building on top of this incredible technology is they are making it easier and easier for people like Bob to access these kinds of opportunities.
Gold yielding. If I'm following you correctly, that's a way to earn like annual percentage yield from gold that you own that you'd otherwise just be sitting on. Can you tell us a little more about this?
Yeah, of course. So traditionally, assets like physical gold have been cumbersome to deal with, store and move. But with blockchain technology, once that gold is digitized, you can now own that gold. It can be vaulted and stored, trustlessly accounted for, and have a digital representation of that gold on blockchain, which opens up a whole new world of opportunities. Really, in reality, it's essentially unlocking the value within gold that traditionally would not be accessible. Now, with your gold represented digitally, you can utilize DeFi platforms, like some of the lending platforms coming to ElGrant to earn yield on that gold like you would in dollars or any other currency.
Wow. Yeah, that's the first I'm hearing of anything like this. That's brilliant. So aside from the consumer products and benefits we've discussed, are there any DeFi products or services that you think would be useful for businesses?
Most definitely. All the advantages blockchain brings to consumers play out for businesses as well. As you can imagine, they are just larger transactions and larger equity holders, so the value is just multiplied. Taken by the same token, ease of use for businesses is also key. It needs to be invisible for businesses just like it is for consumers. And with all the advantages blockchain brings and how incredibly powerful the tech is, imagine if it was as user-friendly as the apps we use today.
Yeah, it's a wonderful thing to see the convergence between the DeFi products and the traditional business. I'd like to share a good example. Oculus. It's one of the DeFi use cases building on ElGrant. It's a decentralized peer-to-peer DeFi node platform. It provides artists with a more direct and accessible way to secure funding. Also, it offers everyone a fair chance to invest in one of the world's fastest growing and most lucrative industries, music. Oculus loans are backed by the future music royalty earnings and copyrights. Unlike cryptocurrency, these assets have predictable future values and carry no risk. The platform will analyze a borrower's music data and copyright assets to ascertain how much money they are eligible to borrow. It will then establish a custom loan repayment plan based on their predicted future earnings. Musicians currently earning a steady royalty income will be eligible to receive upfront loans equal to the value of revenue they generate over 12 months, paying as little as 4% in interest rates.
And look, beyond just Bob, we're also now seeing institutions and startups and corporations looking at DeFi and what it can offer. For example, on the startup front, a tech startup raises $5 million to develop and expand on their project. And rather than just earning bank interest, they can utilize DeFi to generate stronger, meaningful returns to add to their development fund, really increasing their runway and increasing their likelihood of success. And I agree with Summer about Oculus, as one of the more interesting use cases, allowing artists to digitize future music royalties on blockchain and reducing that friction and market entry while delivering value both to creators, investors, and fans is really interesting. And I think this really opens up what we'll see as some of this next generation, which is the kind of concept where, for example, farmers could take their future crop yields, digitize them, and gain loans at better interest rates with less friction.
So fascinating. Well, you both touched on a lot there, but I'm intrigued about the applications to music. Is this something that could combat the piracy problem causing musicians to lose revenue since file sharing and torrents became so popular?
Great question. Blockchain technology via NFTs does help solve this. This is a fairly new area with a lot of development happening as we speak. But even right now, a song can be loaded into an NFT via a hash code and played through a decipher, which means only original could be played. And the brilliance of that is if you ever get sick of the song, you can actually trade and sell it on the secondary market. And then what we see happen is royalties can be attached to those NFTs, and the actual original creating artist can still receive royalties on-chain completely trustlessly over time. And with ElGrant, this can all happen at lightning fast speed, at incredibly low costs, and with each component in a trustless manner.
Wow. That is a fantastic concept. I think a lot of the musicians would be thrilled to learn about this. But I think we'll have to save a deep dive for NFTs for another episode. Moving forward, though, with this new array of DeFi financial products on the way, do you see this causing more banks to downsize or closed? I mean, are banking jobs or loan officer jobs going to be eliminated?
Look, I think it needs to be looked at from a different lens, and I think that's the innovation lens. If DeFi becomes truly a challenger to traditional finance, which I think it is well on the way to being, we won't see the banking industry die out. I think we'll see them forced to change, adapt, innovate themselves. The difference is normally these changes aren't this drastic. This is one of the rare occurrences where we see huge leaps forward and the market trying to catch up while being wary of what it holds.
Yeah, I agree with Michael. So for central bank cryptocurrencies are not considered a potential threat. However, we can see that when facing the threat, banks are making positive changes to adapt to the new technology trend. As one would say, if you can beat them, join them. Banking and governments hold the most power in the world. It may be naive to think that they will stand by as crypto and blockchain replace them. At this point, nearly all world powers have considered releasing a digital version of their currency from their central bank. The main reason is to head off Bitcoin and crypto from gaining too much momentum. The new reality tends to look like centralized authorities will be adopting blockchain solutions to avoid the risk of being extinct.
Well, I think a lot of us would be happy to see financial services across the board improve, even if they're simply forced to remain competitive. How do you see DeFi maturing over the next 5 years? And what sort of products do you think will go mainstream, and how will that affect the current players in the industry?
I think we'll see a lot of the current players adapting to meet the market. So we'll see a lot more adoption from both the financial sector and the traditional sector coming to blockchain. With these additional funds and power coming into the marketplace, we'll see further accessibility and broader acceptance. As always, additional competition also brings additional innovation. The more competitive the marketplace is, the harder those within the marketplace work to remain an edge and be competitive and also meet the market in terms of what the demands are. In terms of interesting new products and concepts coming into the marketplace, there's a huge spectrum of great things coming. But one of the ones that I like most is trustless funds management. This is kind of a new concept. And the idea is, rather than giving your money to an institution where you deposit and you wait to see what sort of interest levels are, and you're really trusting a third party to hold those funds and deliver that return, it's actually done via smart contracts, which is a trustless vehicle that allows you, one, to see all the investments that are being made, but also allows you to then earn a return via that vehicle without having to trust that third party, really removing that element of counterparty risk where someone might disappear with the money isn't actually possible in a vehicle like this. So it really is a new level of transparency for investments.
Wow. Yeah, that's really interesting. So just to clarify for our audience, you said there's no institution to deposit my money with. So this is a non-custodial solution. So the money is in my possession and in my control the whole time, rather than with a fund manager, but still being traded.
Yeah, so Tim, it's actually non-custodial in the sense that it's not actually controlled by anyone else. It's actually controlled by the smart contracts. So what it means, the only one who can actually access and withdraw the funds is you. I think the other piece to add to that, which I think is really interesting as well, is with this new generation of automated or autonomous fund management, any investment can be made. It's not a matter of investing $1 million. You could invest as little as $10 in a project like this, which is another interesting element that really changes how we'll see the new financial structures.
I'm always wary of trusting anyone with my money, and I think a lot more people would be receptive to the idea of managed investing if they could maintain control of their funds at all times. While we've been talking a bit more about the basic level use cases, what interests you the most about the DeFi space, and is there any sort of milestone or advancement you're really excited about?
Okay. I'd like to share with you the recent updates regarding ElGrant. So we will continue to grow our ecosystem in various aspects, including DeFi and NFT, and especially the stablecoin ecosystem. So there have been a lot of stablecoins issued on the ElGrant blockchain, such as USDT, USDC, Euro, Canadian dollar, Brazilian real, and Turkish lira. We are also collaborating with our partners on the digital version of local currencies, such as Mexico peso, Indonesia rupiah, and also Japanese yen. As a project, we are investing a lot of our resources and partnerships into working on various stablecoins that are beyond US dollars. This way, it will enable more DeFi use cases with massive social impact. And we expect to unleash the potential of stablecoin and accelerate the convergence between decentralized and the traditional finance.
Very cool. For those of our audience who may not know what stablecoins are, these are digital tokens that are backed and redeemable one for one with their paper counterparts. The primary purpose of this is to make them easily tradable across all cryptocurrency exchanges and DeFi platforms. While there are some tokenized forms already available for most common fiat currencies, such as the US dollar with USDT, USDC, ElGrant is forging ahead to add many more. So that's definitely something to keep an eye on. And Michael, what are you most excited about coming up?
We have a really strong focus on what the future of DeFi looks like. What does the next 10 years look like for this next generation of finance? And working really closely with a lot of the ElGrant building community, I get firsthand view of what's coming and what's being developed. So for me, talking with all these other projects, for us, where the focus is on creating the most collaborative and powerful ecosystem we can, that fills in all the pieces of what a traditional ecosystem or financial ecosystem requires, and ensuring that in that development, we're also making sure it's a really inclusive environment. This is something where the entire world can adopt and participate and doesn't exclude any particular party, which I think is a really important part of where we're heading.
Yeah, that all sounds very exciting. Can you expand on the ecosystem you envision, and what sort of other DeFi financial products do you see becoming commonplace in the next 10 years?
I think the key to keep in mind is we shouldn't force technology like blockchain where it doesn't belong. Likewise, where it is more valuable over the alternative options, it should 100% be adopted. In broad terms, at its core, anything that removes the need to hand over control of your assets, such as dollars, or some of the new generation of assets, such as your personal information or medical history, is something where blockchain fits really perfectly. The other side of this is removing friction, cost, adding speed, or creating certainty in a transaction. This is another really valuable set of components that bring real value within the blockchain space. This ecosystem could expand into things like controlling your own personal identity. This would allow data to be delivered to you as you like it, but also control who actually gets to see your data. For example, getting paid to see ads for products you're actually interested in versus advertising companies being paid for that same information. Taking the money you earned then onto a loan platform to generate great yield while verifying your identity on that platform via a KYC token in your wallet, where you're not actually giving up your personalized data, is a really good sort of stepping process, is what we can see coming from this. And then finally, taking that yield you've just earned and then via an atomic transaction, which is like a trustless swap with a third party that you can verify as a good actor through their KYC token on the same transaction, is something really useful and something you could not do before. And this is just the beginning.
Incredible. Well, guys, honestly, I have many more questions, but we are out of time. For myself and those viewing who would be interested in learning more about DeFi and the types of products that we've talked about, where would you recommend we start?
Thanks, guys, very much for having me. Both Tim, Layla, and VSN Global, really appreciate it, and for making this possible. For anyone interested, you can visit the Meld Ventures website, where you can see all the projects we are working with. You can also view ElGrant's Medium and Twitter. We just actually released a really good article about DeFi and why it fits so perfectly within the ElGrant ecosystem. And we have a whole series of other articles coming out, so we have regular content coming to market.
Thanks for having me in this very first session of Beyond Bitcoin. I really like the idea of putting the blockchain in a way that is easy and fun. So while being in the industry for around 3 years, not long, but enough to witness a rapid and amazing development happening every day, I'm also glad to see that a shift in people's opinion towards blockchain and a growing interest comes from the traditional industry. I'd like to take this chance and ask everyone to join the journey to witness the development of this groundbreaking technology. Maybe you missed the early stage of the internet boom, but you can still catch the trend of blockchain. So follow ElGrant on Twitter, Facebook, and LinkedIn. You will be amazed by what you can find. Stay tuned. Thank you, guys.
And thank you both again for coming on the show. We look forward to seeing how your companies continue to shape the future of DeFi and the larger blockchain industry. And for all our viewers, thank you as well for joining us. Before you go, if you have any remaining questions for our guests about tonight's episode, and you can't find the answer on any of the links below, leave them in the comments below. Those with the most likes will be shortlisted for personal replies by tonight's guests. And if you like this episode, give us a thumbs up and subscribe with the bell icon to tune into the next one. Thank you, guys.